Welcome to Barn Confidential. I'm here with Kalaya because he's been getting amazing results with his horse Orion in terms of relaxation. And so now he's finally being able to make, it's not like you're not making progress, but compared to where you want to be, like getting these core behaviors in place is so critical, because otherwise, you know, you make progress and horses get worse. Mm-hmm. So how does it feel to you, and what have you been doing to get that relaxation?
Well, for a while we were in the impulsion category or module, and you know, I think you get so in tune to, you know, making progress that, like, yes, you kind of check those boxes before, but you're always going to keep going. I had a call with my parents the other night, and they're like, how's it going, how's it going? It's kind of like those kind of conversations, because it's like, well, he's just been saying no. And so, but we were losing a lot of our relaxation because I was so focused on impulsion. And so we had to kind of come back down and check, you know, connection, relaxation, and responsiveness, and really tackle those core behaviors. And then once we did that, it just kind of, you know, it clicked again, where we're like, okay, now we can kind of take a few more steps forward before we take, you know, that small step backwards to keep going forward. So it was.
And I feel like you really committed to the relaxation, that you were more conscious of what that meant and more particular about it, kind of this time around.
Yeah.
You know, like you did it before, got some good results because now you're not running off with you as much. And then you start to go, okay, I'm making progress. But when the relaxation goes away, you know, I think about those old magicians, you know, whatever they were, that would have this plate spinning, you know, on all these poles, and they'd get them spinning, and then one would quit spinning or get a bit more, and they keep going back and changing them, you know, or putting them back together. And that's really what we have to do with the core behaviors, because as you advance, you still have to check back in those and make sure that you haven't lost them. You know, there's so many horses that can do very advanced things, but they're emotional wrecks, you know, they're really tense. And people keep them together, but there's this anxiety and tension instead of it being just beautiful and harmonious. And what I loved watching today is how far he's come. Because when he trots now, he's like really rolling through his body instead of that tight, you know, kind of choppy movement with his nice long legs.
He gets, when asking for something new, he gets quick to go to tension, and kind of braces through it and doesn't think. But then when you kind of just kind of keep kind of not drilling it, but repeating and showing him the right answer, then he relaxes again. So it's very interesting because for a while it's like when we're in motion, like he's a mover, and so he's moving, and so it was to the point where, like, you know, I didn't feel like my finger was strong enough to direct his nose, but then we kind of stuck with it, and then we got this nice relaxed frame, and he's trotting, and then cantered and came back down. But it's just when he stopped, it's like, this is what I want, but also in motion. So
yeah, exactly. And you've been doing a lot of really good warm-up. Like, maybe just share a little bit of what you've been doing on the ground to get him more connected and more relaxed.
Yeah, I've really been focusing on those core behaviors, and with connection, if it's doing, you know, connection game out in our little paddock back there, and then relaxation and responsiveness, just kind of really, I think short and sweet with him is great, because if you go just a little bit too long, then it kind of all falls apart. But just really checking those core behaviors, yields and mini and maxi bends and flexions and stuff like that. And, you know, once he's relaxed and with you and connected, then I feel like that's when I get on, and then check them also when I'm about to ride, and then I can kind of go back into learning and teaching things.
It's really good. You know, I hope you can really hear how Kalaya's grown in his understanding of what's needed. And, you know, when you can be with a horse and think about what the horse needs, I mean, that's the secret, right? So that's really the art of it, is being able to figure out what your horse needs as you're doing what you're doing, and then be willing to change tack, you know, because we're often so focused on what we want to have happen that it's hard to go, all right, I'm going to not do that for a moment, I'm going to fix this, get it all back together, and then I'll either go back to it today or I'll go back there tomorrow, depending on how difficult it was to to kind of get those things back. And I think the biggest thing that you're doing for Orion is restoring his confidence as a learner. Because, if you think of his career as a racehorse and then a jumper and the state he was in when you got him, I mean, he was mostly out of control. And so he didn't know how to learn. He was just kind of doing the best he could under the circumstances and then just against everything. So I think, watching him change as a learner and get more connected to you is really beautiful.
It's been quite the learning curve with, my timing. I think that was a big thing, and that's helped. And you always saying, be soft when he's right.
Yes.
And so that's the kind of the tricky part to it.
It's only the secret of horsemanship, is that timing and knowing how to match them, go, yes, you're right. And the quicker we can show them they're right, the better. And, you learn that the most profoundly in liberty, because if you're asking a horse to connect with you and come to you, you could be looking at their hindquarters, and then the moment an ear comes to you, like their mind, if you're not quick enough to go, yep, they'll often go, oh, that wasn't it, because they still felt pressure. And so timing is something we're continually working on to get better in every sense of the word. And you have to be really present to do it. So, well done.
Well, thank you.
Join us next time. More at the barn.